were sat down that day, and it's like, hey, you guys are going to take a promotion or else. But that means that, I'm back on patrol and I'm on midnight shift. I have children. And it's never been a goal of mine. And I'm like, you know what? I'm an employee here. Right. And
imagine spending your days tracking drug traffickers and violent criminals, then walking away to build your own real estate business. My guest today, retired Detective Jay Calouro, made that leap. And he's here to share what the streets, the FBI, and the hard or else ultimatum taught him about betting on yourself. Jay, welcome to the show.
Hey, happy to have you.
I'm excited, man. When you reached out, like, not a lot of people, people do reach out. I feel like, and no disrespect to people, I kind of have to curate who I'm bringing on, because I do know everybody has a story, but I try to not bring on guests that are kind of repetitive. And when you said, hey, retired FBI, undercover, but I started my real estate brokerage, I was like, gotta have him on. So I appreciate you on. Let's go right into it. Why law enforcement?
That's a great question. So when I was when I was a kid, I was a big fan of New York Undercover. I don't know if you ever saw it. There's replays on it now on the Disney Channel, which is awesome. Nobody wants to watch it with me in my house, but
yeah,
it's two detectives in New York. They solve a crime, and at the end of the day, they go to this restaurant. And usually, it's like the best music of that time when I was like 13 or 14. Which I've come to find out that no matter how old you are, the best music of your life is like those high school years, And I was really drawn to it. My brother was in law enforcement. He was someone that I looked up to, and still do. He became a chief of police in Massachusetts, and in college, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I got my bachelor's in sociology, and then senior year, I was taking classes. I ended up in Department of Corrections for about 6 months to a year, and I knew that that's definitely not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Went back to college, got my degree at Eastern, and then the day after I graduated, I started the police academy for the city of Norwich.
Wow. So did you intend on staying in law enforcement? Like when you get out of college and you kind of go through that process and, over in Norwich, was your plan to stay in that your whole career?
No, it wasn't. I knew that I wanted to focus on drug work. There was some events when I was growing up where I saw, drugs as one of those pitfalls that people fall into. At the time there wasn't fentanyl and heroin when I was that young, but I mean there was, but it wasn't being abused to the extent that it is now. But I always wanted to do drug work. So the day that I went in for a interview, two guys came out, regular clothes, hats backwards, like smoking and joking in the lobby. And I'm like, who are these dudes?
Yeah.
Like what is going on? And it ended up being two guys that taught me a lot about the job. And I never really, from the day that I got in, I never wanted to be like a policeman, you know what I mean? Driving the car, wearing the uniform. I always wanted to do narcotic cases or undercover cases and, plainclothes investigations, which is really how everything panned out. But I don't know. I'm blessed really with the trajectory that it went. I wanted it to go that way. I originally wanted to leave local law enforcement and go to the DEA. But I guess I kind of did that without doing that.
Sure. I think we often have this idea of wanting more and, not that it's not enough, but you feel like, and I think specifically as men or just overachievers, there's this idea that how can I get more money, more bigger house, a nicer car, whatever it is. And I have this conversation with a lot of people where it's this mentality that while it feels selfish, it's for the family, right? It's, I want to provide, I want them to have everything that they can have. When you described to me in the intake form, you had said that you also were like, you felt like there was more for you. Just describe for me your early mindset early on and what that meant for you? Or did that shift later in your career that more was defined by, the transition in your role, which we'll go into a little bit, where you felt that, or you had that paradigm shift where it was kind of that ultimatum that you were given by your supervisor at the time?
Yeah. So going into it, it was always, I wanted to do drug cases. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I wanted to, be that person that, that worked with the informants that brought, the drug dealers that were selling, fentanyl and killing people to justice. And it was it was a phenomenal, like I really wouldn't choose any other path. If I had to do it over again, I would do the exact same thing. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then, I worked on the state level. I worked on the federal level. I was assigned as a task force officer with the FBI, which is like, it was just an honor. You know what I mean? And during my conversation with, it was actually me and my partner at the time, Joel, who's been a lifelong friend. And we actually worked Narcotics side by side, which is cool.
Yeah.
It was like, we're called, like multiple things, but usually it's the guys in the auditorium from the Muppets. Like the old guys just heckle everybody.
That's funny.
Stanford and something or other. But, it's just what I wanted to do. And we're sat down that day and it's like, hey, you guys are going to take a promotion or else. And I'm not trying to cry about, like I'm persecuted because my boss wants to give me more money.
Right.
But that means that, I'm back on patrol and I'm on midnight shift. I have children. And it's never been a goal of mine. And I'm like, you know what? I'm an employee here.
Right.
And my boss is going to tell me what he wants me to do. And I did want more. And at that point, it's like, you know what? Or else, I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to make it on my own and try to figure out how.
Yeah. What was more like for you? Like when you think, again, I what's that meant? What did that mean for you? Again, for me, like, I think it's intangible for me. Like it's hard to describe. And I think it always ties back to, money. But you said something interesting that, you wanted to bring the criminal, you wanted to, bring justice. That's a level of satisfaction, it sounds like, for you. But was that the definition of more for you then? Or was it, like you said, my boss was basically handcuffing me, if you will, no pun intended, in making this decision for me when I don't have the control of this decision. So more meaning, I can go be my own boss. I can do this for myself. I can provide for my family and not go through this. Because, I know me, as my mentality would be like, this is very stressful. Like if I was in that situation, like, and I don't know how I would, perceive that. I probably like, fine, I'll take it. I'll take the promotion, just knowing just me. But there's a level of stress that probably goes into this conversations that you're having with your family. You mentioned you had, kids, and you would have had to do overnights. Like, just walk me through that mindset. I'm curious, because that's unique in itself.
For sure. Yeah. So as I was sitting there, it was like, it was an immediate gut punch. You know what I mean? I thought we were going to, like, it wasn't uncommon that, the boss would call you in and say, hey, I have a problem and we need you guys to handle it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, there's somebody over here. There's, someone from City Hall is complaining about this. You guys need to go, like, fix it. And that was kind of our role there. And when we sat down and it was like, hey, you're not retiring from the detective division.
Yeah.
You're going to take a promotion or else. And it was like, I can feel it like I'm there right now. I looked out the window and, as you sit in that office, there's a beautiful, it's the harbor. You know what I mean? So you look and you're like, and then it's like, as he's talking, it's like, there's a few times in your life where you're like hit with that amount of stress where you're like it's Charlie Brown. And I'm like,
you like kind of blacked out a little bit.
Yeah. I'm like, man, and then I'm like, man, all I've done. And it's like, but in the same token, I can see it from his point of view too.
Sure.
He's like, here are these two guys, they can hand a lot down to the younger generation, and you put them on midnights and they can teach all these kids.
Yeah.
Not kids, they're grown men, but these
No,
younger guys,
totally,
yeah. And girls, you know what you've learned, and I get his perspective and I get his point of view, and I don't hold any ill will towards him. It was just like I can't, like it's not meant for me or my family.
How long did that decision come for you? As an instant, like when you were having that conversation with him, did you just say like, listen, I can't, or just say, hey, give me some time, I got to figure this out?
It was pretty instant.
Yeah, it was like right there. Yeah. So the or else moment was like, I'm gonna take the else. Like I'm gonna, I'm not gonna listen. Not that you're not gonna listen or respect, but I got to make a decision for me.
For sure.
What's going on in your once you decide to walk away? What's going on in your mind? Like how are you feeling? Like are you like is there a rush of like adrenaline? Is there a little bit of stress relief, or is there weight off your shoulders? Is there sadness? Like what's going on?
So it was. So I know that you played baseball.
Sure. Yeah.
It probably felt similar to like taking your last at bat.
Wow.
And knowing it.
Wow, that's incredible. I can actually resonate with that, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was.
That's crazy.
It was. I'm like, man, this is like all I've worked for my entire adult life. Like I want to stay doing what I'm doing.
Yeah,
and realistically, if we had not had that conversation, I'd be like 22 or 23 years in right now. I might still be in the same spot.
Yeah.
So like I said, it was a difficult conversation,
Right.
but I thank him for that.
Yeah.
It was transformative. It was the kick that I needed to move on.
Were you thinking about moving on before that?
No, it was that position was it was something that I worked for my entire life. Like when I was, like I said, a 13-year-old kid, I'm like, oh, that's what I want to do. And then the day that I go in for the interview to become a cop, I'm like, oh, these dudes look at this gig. Like, that's like awesome. And then as time went on, like those are the guys that, hey, patrol guy, can you come down and, block the road? We're going to, raid this house. And they, they roll in a van and jump out and hit a door. And you're like, well, that seems pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it was an interesting time. So when I left, when we had that conversation and he was like, hey, this is it. It was like, and it wasn't an immediate thing. It was something that was kind of a daily conversation. Like, hey, like you're getting out. I ended up in community relations.
Yeah. So how's the conversations with the family about this? Like because I think that's important, right? When any decision that impacts, again, financial, I'm assuming, there's a Bible phrase that says where much is given, much is required, right? And these roles that we do, real estate, law enforcement, at the level that you were, insurance, you eat what you kill, if you will, right? So you got to really dive deep into who you are as a person. You have to come up with processes and you have to execute. And if you execute well, it works out for everybody. So you have to have these conversations with your significant other. I had really hard conversations with my wife in 2023 when I left the company that I'm actually back at right now. You could go back 30 episodes or so and listen to that. But, you have to have that dialogue, and it is impactful on them as much as it is for you. What was that like?
So my wife is a saint. You know what I mean? Like she is, we balance each other out very well. I talk constantly and she's very introspective.
Yeah.
She thinks about what she's going to say.
Yeah, not me.
I don't so much. And that's what makes me nervous about this podcast.
Yeah, we're doing good so far.
All right, thank you. But, she's like, do what makes you happy. And at that time I was listening. I'm a big podcast guy. I'd spend a lot of time in the car at that point. Like we'd be watching houses and people and, you'd be sitting there for hours and hours and hours. And I was like, real estate investing seems, just amazing. You know what I mean? It sounds like a great way, build residual income.
Sure.
Like do those things. So I'm I'm listening to Bigger Pockets, and they had a portion in every episode where they're like, hey, what's the most transformative book you've ever read? And everyone would say, not everybody, but 90% of the people on there is like, hey, I don't want to be like, the last guy that you had on, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, yeah.
It was, so I picked it up. I'm in community relations now. I started reading it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've had it wrong this whole time. Like I went sideways here. And it's like, if you haven't read the book, I'm sure you probably have, but
it's over there somewhere, or maybe back here. I have it.
Yeah.
I listen to his podcast too.
Yeah. It's amazing. I listen to the audiobook every year, like once every year during the summertime. I'll be mowing the lawn and listen to it over again, just so I refresh my memory on it. And it's it's just a book that, work hard, do good in school, get a good job, climb the corporate ladder. Yeah. And then Rich Dad is like, hey, own the ladder.
Right.
I have all these people that did that work for me.
Right.
And, I'm like, well, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, own assets, have the assets, pay your bills, and like, don't ask like you can't afford something. Ask, how can you afford that thing? Sure. And it's like, okay. And then during that time, we were, looking for houses, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get my real estate license.
Yeah.
And that was the best thing that I've ever done in my entire life is take all that energy that I had, that frustration, and put it into something positive that gave me another skill. And during that time, I realized, like, all these years, and, like, you'd make an arrest and we would have an interview afterwards, somewhat, like any interview that you'd ever have. And you're like, I'm in sales.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking to this person about, like, hey, where did you get this from? Are you interested in, like, talking about, the source of supply or their source of supply? And I'm like, this is sales. I'm just selling freedom instead of a product of any sort, and then working with, prosecutors and people to, work out a deal for this guy because of,
you're negotiating.
Yeah. This other transaction that happened over here. And it was very, the jobs are more similar than you
That's believe. Interesting. That is interesting. So, this is where you said to me that this was you betting on yourself, right? What does betting on yourself actually look like when you're walking away from something? Like you said, it was my last at bat. Oh man, that hurt. Like I can feel that, man. I could feel it.
I'm sorry to bring it up.
Oh man, it like I think I cried. I was 21. I think I cried, man. When I had my last at bat. But what does betting on yourself look like when you're walking through this? Was the transition right after you left? Like, did you go right into real estate after you left? I know you said you kind of got your license throughout that process. Were you like, all right, boom, right into the field? Like, what's that look like?
So I was doing both for a good amount of time.
Okay.
And really, anybody that wants to look into real estate should not just jump into it and not have a safety net. Like with me, I was doing both, and now I have a pension that thank God I can collect the minute I walked out of that place. So I've always had a safety net.
Sure.
And I've talked to a lot of agents that, don't have a safety net, and it's terrifying. I give them all the credit in the world. Like, if you don't make any money, you don't sell any houses, you go to zero.
Right.
Like that.
Right.
That's scary. And I don't know how insurance is, but
similar. I mean, I get a very low base, like below minimum wage base, and everything else is, residual business and new business, referral from you, referral from mortgage, Mike, things like that. And it's a new business, and then that renews. So, over years it will stack and compound. And, as the insurance market transitions, some falls off, some stays. So, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Were people telling you it was a bad idea?
Everyone was telling me it was a bad idea. Everyone. Yeah. So, and that's really where I was, like, I'd walk in and working with a bunch of, like, alpha males that, and I I could tell a joke, you know what I mean? Like we would, break stones, and I was probably, one of the main guys that would do that. And you'd walk in and be like, oh, real estate agent guy. You know what I mean? And you're like, hey, how's it going? But, it was funny because the same people that were like, ah, ha, ha, as time went on, they're like, hey man, I got a question about this investment. Like, can you help me out? And then it was like, hey, I'm selling my house, or a family member selling their house. Can you help them out?
Yeah.
And it's like, like that's kind of like what I'm doing. And the one thing about me is I'm brutally honest. So I talk more people out of buying houses.
Good.
And, investments and stuff that I don't believe in.
I love that.
And that's where I get most of my business. Is talking people out of business.
Transparency.
Yeah.
I think that's key, and not to just kind of go side from what I have here for you, but I too talk people out of insurance deals. Like I'm not trying to kill the deal for the realtor. I'm not trying to kill the deal for the mortgage person. But if somebody's gonna buy a house with a roof that's 25 years old, I'm not gonna do it. And this market doesn't lend to it anymore, and I'm okay with that. And I think that the more honest you are in business, the more transparent you are in business, that's where you start seeing, your referral base grow, customers and whatnot, which is awesome. You said there's similarities between the drug business and real estate. Can you just break that down? You mentioned, you touched on it a little bit, but I'm just, the interviews and, you're negotiating and whatnot, but break it down for me a little bit more in depth if you can, because I think that's interesting, an interesting concept. There's a book that I read called To Sell is Human. And it's basically that in every day of our life since we were children, we're selling. My son's trying to sell me on why he should get something or do something. And I think it's an innate characteristic as humans. Break that down for me of like how that transitioned and what for you felt easy in real estate and then what you had to learn.
So what felt easy in real estate was the interaction part of it. Like, hey, we're going to check the house out. We're going to go through it. We're going to make sure that it suits you, suits what you need. We're going to talk to the person in the lane that, like the mortgage guy, like we'll talk to, Mike or whoever they have for a mortgage person. And then they'll tell you the payment. Does the payment work? Does the payment really work?
Yeah.
Like we're going to have an honest conversation about that. And it was kind of the same thing in law enforcement. Like, hey, we're going to work on you paying your debt to society, essentially. Like you did something wrong and you don't get a free pass, but we'll try to work off your debt to society.
Yeah.
And it was very, very like similar in that manner, those conversations where you just have to be fully transparent and tell people like, hey, these are the repercussions. If you choose to do this, like you're protected by us in a way, but don't do anything like crazy or off the reservation, and we'll be okay. We'll reach a positive outcome. It was kind of the same type of thinking. And I go back to transparency and just being honest with people. Like I worked in that business for, in narcotics and those businesses for, 15 years. And I'm not scared to like go outside. I'm not scared of people coming back to get me. I never treated anybody the way that they didn't deserve to be treated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I never like got one over on anybody, did anything shady. I never, lied, cheated, or stole. And that's the way, that's just me in business. And it's the same thing. The one thing that I will say in drug business, as far as drug dealers, as opposed to real estate people, drug people run a way more honest game, believe it or not. And
what do you mean?
So
without, obviously
so in real estate, there's really no rules sometimes. I know that a lot of them are bound by, code of ethics and stuff like that. But it gets sideways a lot.
Oh yeah,
and,
sure.
And in narcotics, it was the great equalizer was always violence. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't do that to somebody. You wouldn't backdoor somebody. You wouldn't try to go to their source of supply without a conversation or a sit down.
Right.
And in real estate, it's like, hey, the dollar rules, and like that shocked me when I started. It was like, oh, like I don't think that was right what they did to me.
Wow,
and the
wow.
broker was like, yeah, man,
It's dirty.
Yeah, it's going to happen to you. It's a
Wow.
dirty business. And it's
Interesting.
like I've tried to make Drawbridge like a place where all of us are on the same page. Like we're straight up and we do things the way that you're supposed to. You have an agreement with someone that you're going to, have them sign, that you sign, everybody's on the same page, and like, you're going to work with me and I'm going to work with you. I'm going to do my, like this. And, it's all out in the open. It's not, there's a lot of muddy waters, muddy areas in real estate.
And that was my next question. Where did the parallels not work? Right. So it transitioned easy because you had the interaction with people in your law enforcement career. That's easy because I to this day, I think being in front of people is more valuable than just sitting behind the desk and banging the phones. I do a lot of networking and it's turned my business around. But that was my next question, is where the parallels do not work, and where does real estate require a completely different mindset from your law enforcement business?
So in law enforcement, it was more, hey, you're gonna do what we say. You're under arrest. You're under arrest. You know what I mean? Right. It was more direct. In real estate, people are on their own journey. Yeah. Like, hey, this is a good buy. Like I would buy this if I were in your position, or like I would pass on this in your position. Well, people might not want to listen to you. You know what I mean? And it was like, okay, you know what I mean? I'm trying to help you. I just want to be clear. Like this is a conversation where you're like, hey, I don't think that this is a good opportunity for you. And you can't just be like, in law enforcement, hey, just don't buy the house. You're not buying the house. Like, I'm not selling it to you. Like now it's like, you have to meet people on their journey. And if it's something that they want to do and you advise them on it, I usually give, about 3 until people are like, hey, dude, like
they want it. And you're like, all right, fine. Yeah. I mean, you got to, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's about what the consumer wants, and you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, we're selling properties in this environment, and a lot of times it's not interest rates are sky high, prices are sky high, and
Mike Mish put out this is just a sidebar. He put out something really interesting about how, the people who bought homes in 2021, people like me, this is the second house that we purchased. We got a really good interest rate, but the cost of living is so much higher, and it's making it harder for people if they're not in the right financial situation. So yeah, that 2%, 3% interest rate looked great on a $400,000 house. And you're as a household, you're making $75,000, $80,000 a year. You're able to kind of weather the storm for a couple of years, but the impact that it's having now and beyond is kind of scary. What was the hardest part for you, like early on, like when you first kind of started getting going, and to this day, what do you struggle with your business? Nothing.
No. So I think a lot of self-doubt, to be quite honest with you. A real estate agent in general is a business upon themselves for the most part. And, when things are going good, you're like, man, this is fantastic. But, there's a cycle throughout the year where it's like, things are always going to go really well and things are going to like slow down to a snail's pace, no matter what type of agent you are.
Honestly, I'm the busiest when you guys are busy. I'm the slowest when you guys are the slowest. It just happens like that.
Yeah, and it's like during those slow times, it's like, I'm going to be broke. Oh, no. Oh, no. And then it's like now it's like, it's fine, man. We're on the roller coaster and I'm just chilling. It's not, I don't trust the process. I work a little bit on the business every single day. For a long time, I felt like, Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill. But I feel like I made it to the top of the hill and it's starting to roll down on its own. And I enjoy, I get to work with my best friend every day. I get to work with the other agents that we have every day, and it's going in the right direction. It's just, I feel as though the seasonal slowness just always sparks like anxiety in me.
Yeah. You have to remind yourself, right? Like that's something that at the beginning of every year, you have to remind yourself that this is normal. This is going to happen. Me and my wife were just talking about it. Between June and August, it's the most stressful month for us because she's a teacher. She doesn't work. The kids are home. So we have to remind ourselves going into like the, quarter 2 going into quarter 3, like, hey, June is rolling around. Just let's be aware of like, this is going to be stressful. You should check out that book, Fanatical Prospecting. It's a really good book because it kind of addressed that. And I want to know what and it's a lot. I still have a lot more I want to ask you, but I want to know what you do when you say I work on the business. They say, I think Bigger Pockets. I don't know if they coined it working on the business and in the business, but that's where I heard it. And I had a guy, Mike Doherty, he's a real estate investor out in West Hartford. He actually said that as well. Working on the business and in the business, just two different definitions. And I'm curious on what you do to work on the business. In the business, we know what that is, right? It's the showings, it's the back and forth dialogue with the clients, and but I think that the bread and butter, the gold mine, is when you are working on the business, which includes how you treat yourself, how you work on yourself, I think mentally and physically, but then also the activities that you're doing to grow your business. What do you do?
So it's funny you say that. So working on your business is actually a rich dad phrase. So
Okay.
I try to read. I try to read at least a chapter of something a day, whether it be self-improvement books, real estate books. Like I'm taking a class next week on my birthday for property management. Like that might be something that I'm interested in delving into.
Sure.
Social media marketing. We try to, delve into different things.
Yeah,
Try to be everywhere at once. But really it comes from you know what I mean? Like I'm working on me. Like I'm from the day that I sat in that office and was told or else till today, I'm a totally different human being.
Yeah.
It was like I worked unbelievably hard to get where I am now. And, in 10 years, I hope to be in a totally different place and be like, man, that kid didn't know what he was talking about back then. Like, you know what I mean? That's, I think, just the goal of, someone in general. It should be just to try to make a little progress every day.
Yeah, that's good, man. There's a book that I read. Actually, I started with the documentary. It's, and I think I've said it on my show a couple of times. Jonah Hill did a documentary on Netflix, and he was interviewing his therapist, but his therapist thought that he was just filming a therapy session for Jonah Hill. And the therapist, his name is Phil Stutz. I have a book that I read, but he has a thing that's called The Life Force. And the life force is this triangle where there's 3 things that we as people should be focusing on. That being our relationship with ourself, our body, our mental, and then our relationship with spiritual, whatever that means to you, and then your relationship with others. And those are the 3 things that align in your life force that I believe kind of goes hand in hand in what we do for a living. If that's not right, then everything else isn't going to be right. You've seen people in law enforcement and on the streets lose everything to money, substance, and relationships. Which of those 3 destroy the most potential in people?
So I really think it's alcohol and drugs. I think that it robs people of themselves. And I think that was kind of always what I was trying to protect people from was themselves. I mean, I remember, substance abuse class back when I was at Eastern. And it's like, hey, you're never going to solve the drug problem until you solve people's reasoning for using drugs in the first place. And it's not something that you can arrest your way out of.
Sure.
And I fully, I'm aware of that. It's, but people also need to be protected from themselves.
Yeah.
And if they can't get to what they're trying to get to, and there's, I'm not going to shout them out, but there's somebody that me and you are very, very close with that was in a position where he was looking for drugs and the phone was ringing and we had his drug dealer in custody. And it was like, I didn't know this person until years later. And I told him the story and he's like, what's crazy is that day was the last day that I used.
Wow.
It was good to hear. And it's like those people that you arrest, like we arrested one guy and I would say that he's like a maniac, you know what I mean? Like he's shot people, like sold kilos.
Yeah.
And then now he's like a real estate investor.
Yeah.
His nose is clean. He's, got 100 doors and, he's like, this is America, man.
Yeah.
I was down for the count. I was in jail, bought houses, and then now I got 100 doors underneath my belt.
These pitfalls, for someone who sees it every single day, I got to imagine that there's this, you're human. You as, Jay, you're human and you have compassion and empathy for people. That's why you were doing what you're doing. But is there an element of anxiety that comes from seeing this day in and day out? And if not, like, how do you block that out? And address that. I mean, I've heard stories. I know people. I have a coworker whose father responded to the mass shooting that happened in Manchester a long time ago. It's probably, I want to say it's 10 years or so, maybe longer than that, maybe before Sandy Hook. And, the devastation that he saw, and it messed with him mentally for ever. Like it really, struggled with. So I wonder, like, how does a law enforcement officer, with the things that you have seen, like how do you handle that as a person?
So we would go. I mean, I was narcotics, but I was also a detective. So like when a major violent crime happened,
sure.
we would show up, and there was like, every murder, a lot of suicides, and it was. I mean, I tell you this, I'm probably the most strict parent you've ever met in your entire life.
Good.
Like I am on my kids. Yeah. My oldest, I track his location like I'm the CIA.
Yeah.
But
does he know?
Oh yeah, he knows. Yeah, he does. He tries to mess with it and turn it on airplane mode, but I know what time it is. Yeah. But I think a lot of humor. I try to get out and golf. Mm-hmm. Do things that are enjoyable. Mm-hmm. I mean, truth be told, I throw myself into my work quite a bit, which, is probably a positive and negative. Sure. You get positive results out of it, but it, at some point it becomes, you're in it too much. You need to kind of take a step back. And now I'm not, like before, I would take every single deal that came to me. Mm-hmm. Now I'm more pushing things off to the other guys and girls. Try to go to the gym. Don't go as much as I should.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you, man. That's
It's that business, police work. It's not good for your brain. And the one thing that should be noted is that every guy and girl that does that job goes in and they have a psychological and a polygraph lie detector. Mm-hmm. And they're normal when they go in, but you see some of the most horrific things that you can ever imagine.
That like a person shouldn't be saying, right? Like a normal person, average person.
No. Yeah, they say average person sees like 3 or 4 traumatic events in their life, and like a police officer sees like 800 or 900 in a career.
Holy moly!
And it's like, just thinking about it, like jogs, your memory, and it's not good for you. And that's really was the intent. When I started Drawbridge, it was the intent to throw these dudes a lifeline, because what happens? Money starts to get involved. like, hey, I need to work overtime. And what are you doing? You're on this hamster wheel of now I got to go back. Like, I just saw some horrific thing last night, but I got to go back in 8 hours after I get 2 hours of sleep and start this whole cycle over again.
It's not healthy.
Meanwhile, like, you can go and get your real estate license, do this on the side. You're born and bred for this. You show up at people's houses for domestics. You solve their problems.
Right.
Like, solve your own problems. You know what I mean? Like, go out and help people. You'll feel good about it at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and you'll make more money than you will working, an 8-hour overtime shift where you very easily, could get, shot and killed or get in a car accident and stuff like that. So that was the goal of Drawbridge. And we've brought on a lot of guys that are retired law enforcement, corrections, nurses, teachers,
Cool.
like people that, do a lot for our community that, I want to help. Like, I want to, that's really my goal in starting this, this company. And it's been, healing for me, I think.
Yeah. That's great.
By doing it.
That's great. I love to hear that. What do you see in the stories where people turn around their lives? You mentioned somebody who was down in the dirt and, at the lowest point in his life, and then turned it around to become this, real estate investor. What do you see in those success stories? Like, what's most common when you hear those kind of stories in that type of person that decides, like, I am going to turn my life around. I am going to not let my history define who I am, and I'm going to redefine who I am. What do you see the most common trend or theme in those type of people?
That they were entrepreneurs from the start and just didn't realize it. Because a lot of these guys, what holds most of us back?
Ourselves.
Yeah. Fear. It's like we're scared. You know what I mean? And these guys, not everybody's born, like I was born in Stonington. I've had a lot of opportunities in my life. A lot of people haven't. You know what I mean? A lot of people are born, with, 2 strikes on them, and it's like, I don't know where we're going to go.
Yeah.
And these guys, like these entrepreneurial street pharmacists, we'll call them, have it up here. They're like, they have the money, they have like the wits to them, and they just need a little positive direction. Maybe they never had that positive direction before, but they're risking everything. You know what I mean? They're going out, they have, a pocket full of drugs, a pocket full of money, and like they very easily could be killed for anything.
Weapons, all that.
Yeah. Why don't you, there's, if you want to be a salesman in something that you're not going to get shot at. You know what I mean? Like, be, an honest human being, play within the rules and do something.
Yeah.
And they do. There's at least, the majority obviously doesn't, but there's the handful, and it's like this person in particular, I saw him in traffic, and I roll my window down, and I was like, and he's driving like a $200,000 car.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm proud. It's like watching like one of your like kids that like, like graduate or something. It's like, man, good for you.
Yeah.
Like, good for you.
That's
and
awesome.
I know a lot about him in particular, but it makes you truly proud. He never helped like the police, never, like, we were on complete opposite sides. He was playing his position as the bad guy. I was playing my position as the policeman. Yeah. And my job is to catch you, his job to get away. And we actually talked about that. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like no ill will towards me. It was my job to get you and your job to get away. Yeah. I got you. You got away a couple times. I got you a couple times. Wow. It is what it is. You paid your debt to society in jail, but it is. He reminded me, this is America. Right. And you can lose everything and come back. Yeah. And if he could do that, anybody can. Exactly. Yeah. I love that, man. We got 10 minutes or so. You said something that it was really, it grabbed my attention. It was the moment that you realized the suspect had their victim's blood still on them.
what's going through your mind in that situation? That's if you want to just quickly tell that story, if you can, not without detail, no names or anything like that.
Yeah. So there was probably one of the most horrific murders that I've ever been to. And we had been working with an informant who was very good. And he would always say, hey, there's this guy, he's dealing to the people at the soup kitchen and stuff like that, and gave us his street name. So a couple days go by, this murder happens. We're like, oh man, it was like the middle of the day. And the guy the officer that went out to the scene is like, hey, you're gonna have to call the detectives. This is a murder essentially. And in code over the radio, like the code that he uses. And I'm like, oh, so I call my wife. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be stuck here for forever.
Yeah.
So we go there, and start talking to some people and learn that, hey, it's the same street name as the informant. And we're like, hey, are we gonna take a swing at getting this murderer off the street? So we kind of like formed the team, and it was just some of the best detectives that I've ever worked with. It was, my best friend Joel, that's an agent with us now, Gomes, Harry Famiglio. There was like the detectives the detective sergeants, and I believe it was Ed Peckham, and they're like, hey, we're letting go of the leash, go do your case. And we did. We ordered up some crack from the guy, and right now we're like, it's just a name, like we don't really know if it pans out or not. But we have everybody, so we send our informant out, we're following, he goes, meets this guy, matches, physically who we believe the murderer is at the time based on the limited information. We're like, we're going to arrest him for the drug case. So he sells our informant drugs. He goes back and meets with Nate, who was a phenomenal partner as well. And, we follow him through town, and it was like out of a movie. It was like, all right, we're going to take him. And everybody kind of comes up. We arrest him, and he has cuts on his hand.
Crazy.
It was a violent stabbing, and he had cuts all over his hand. And it was like one of those moments where it's like, we worked as a team. We went out there. We did just, what I would say is a fantastic job as a group, and like hitting on all cylinders. And he ended up having the victim's blood on him, and he had actually attempted to kill people years before and had just gotten out of jail. And this had just happened. But it was probably my most memorable case, just because of I'll
it's
never.
Intense. It's intense, man.
Yeah, and these guys were just next level. Like it was just. I mean, it was hours from the time that we found the body, unfortunately, to arrest.
Yeah. Wow, man, I appreciate you sharing that story. What I've gathered from you, and we just met today. We had a phone call about a month ago, probably maybe a little less than a month. You're compassionate. You care about people more than I think the average person does. I think the Bible says, "Love thy neighbor as thyself," and you look at everybody as your neighbor, whether they're a criminal, whether they're a real estate client, whether they're just a friend, colleague, and that's an invaluable trait, an asset that people have, and I think people could learn that from you. Before we let you go and wrap up here, what do you want people to know about you and Drawbridge, and then where can people find you?
Sure. So what I want them to know about me is that I am the broker owner of Drawbridge. We have a whole bunch of agents. You can reach out to every one of them, and they're fantastic. Each one has been vetted. It's not a place where we just hire anyone. Every one of the people on the roster is a good human being. Feel free to reach out, buying, selling, and investing. You can reach our page online at Instagram. It's at Drawbridge Realty LLC, and then on Facebook, Drawbridge Realty.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I drop that in the description. So I appreciate you joining me. Anybody who's listening, make sure you go follow Jay. Make sure you subscribe, like, and follow the channel. Share this on all platforms. And I appreciate your time today, man. This was good.
Hey, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.